In a quiet town, shy Mia hid her pain behind silence, bullied relentlessly. One day her tormentors crossed a line, grabbing her in public. What they didn't know, Mia's secret self-defense training was about to unleash a storm. Watch her rise, fight back, and shock everyone. Please subscribe for more gripping stories like Mia's. In the small town of Willow Creek, nestled in the rolling hills of Ohio, 17-year-old Mia Larson was known as the girl who never spoke. She glided through the hallways of Willow Creek High like a ghost, her chestnut hair falling over her face, her hazel eyes fixed on the floor. To most, she was invisible, a shadow who carried her books close to her chest and ate lunch alone under the oak tree in the courtyard. But to a select group of students, Mia was a target, a canvas for their cruelty. They called her Mouse, mocked her thrift store clothes, and tripped her in the cafeteria, laughing as her tray clattered to the ground. Mia never fought back. She absorbed the taunts, the shoves, the whispers, and buried them deep inside, where they festered like an untreated wound. Mia's silence wasn't born of weakness, though. It was a shield, forged in the fire of a childhood marked by loss. Her mother, a gentlewoman who loved to paint, had died of cancer when Mia was 10. Her father, a truck driver, was rarely home, leaving Mia to fend for herself in their small, creaky house on Maple Street. Alone, Mia learned to survive by staying small, unnoticed, unremarkable. But survival came at a cost. Every insult, every bruise chipped away at her spirit, until she began to believe she deserved the pain. The Bullies were led by Jake Carter, senior with a quarterback's build and a predator's grin. Jake was the golden boy of Willow Creek High, adored by teachers, worshipped by girls, and feared by anyone who dared cross him. His crew, Tyler, a wiry kid with a cruel streak, and Becca, a cheerleader whose beauty masked a venomous heart, followed his every command. To them, bullying Mia was a sport, a way to flex their power. They'd steal her notebooks, scrawl insults on her locker, and once, in a particularly vicious act, Becca poured chocolate syrup over Mia's head in the girls' locker room, laughing, as Mia stood frozen, tears mixing with the sticky mess. But the worst came one crisp October afternoon. During the school's annual fall festival, the football field was alive with music, food stalls, and laughter. Mia, coerced by her English teacher to volunteer at the bake sale, stood behind a table laden with cupcakes, her hands trembling as she handed out change. She'd hoped to go unnoticed, but Jake and his crew had other plans. They sauntered over, their laughter cutting through the crowd. Jake leaned across the table, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Hey, Mouse, why don't you smile? Or are you too busy hiding those cheap clothes?" The crowd snickered, and Mia's face burned. She stared at the ground, willing herself to disappear. Then it happened. Tyler, egged on by Jake, reached across the table and grabbed Mia's chest, his hand lingering as he leered. The crowd gasped, some laughing, others whispering. Becca smirked, filming the moment on her phone. Mia froze, her breath catching in. Her throat, her body screaming to run, to hide, to vanish. But something inside her snapped. The humiliation, the years of torment, the weight of her silence, it all collided in a single, blazing moment. Mia's eyes lifted, meeting Tyler's, and for the first time they held not fear, but fire. What no one knew, not even her father, was that Mia had been training in secret. 6 months earlier, after a particularly brutal day at school, Mia had wandered into a rundown gym on the edge of town. There, she met Sensei Hiroshi, a former martial arts champion who ran a small dojo for troubled kids. Hiroshi saw the pain in Mia's eyes, the way she flinched at sudden movements, and offered her a deal. Train with him for free, but commit fully. Mia, desperate for an escape, agreed. Every evening, while her father was on the road, she trained. Hiroshi taught her Krav Maga, a brutal self-defense system designed for survival. She learned to strike, to block, to disarm. Her body grew stronger, her reflexes sharper, but more than that, she began to reclaim a piece of herself she thought was lost forever. Back at the festival, Tyler's hand still on her, Mia acted. On instinct, she grabbed his wrist, twisted it sharply, and yanked him forward, sending him sprawling across the table. Cupcakes flew, and the crowd gasped. Tyler scrambled to his feet, his face red with rage, but Mia was already moving. When he lunged at her, she sidestepped, using his momentum to flip him onto the ground. Jake roared, charging at her, but Mia was ready. She blocked his punch, drove her knee into his stomach, and sent him staggering back, gasping for air. Screamed, dropping her phone, but Mia didn't stop. She stood tall, her chest heaving, her eyes blazing with a fury that silenced the crowd. The festival erupted into chaos. Teachers rushed forward, pulling Mia away. Jake and Tyler were escorted to the principal's office, their faces a mix of shock and humiliation. Becca, sobbing, claimed Mia had attacked them unprovoked, but the crowd's whispers told a different story. Mia was suspended for a week, a punishment that felt like a badge of honor. As she walked home that evening, her heart pounded, not with fear, but with something new, pride. Word of the fight spread like wildfire. By Monday, Mia was no longer invisible. Students stared as she returned to school, some with awe, others with fear. Jake and his crew were suspended for 2 weeks, and their reputations took a hit. But Mia knew it wasn't over. Bullies like Jake didn't forgive, and they didn't forget. She braced herself for retaliation, training harder with Hiroshi, who warned her that power came with enemies. The twist came a week later, when Mia found an envelope slipped into her locker. Inside was a grainy photo of her training at the dojo, taken through the window. Scrawled in red ink were the words, "We know your secret. Watch your back." Mia's stomach dropped. Someone had been watching her. Someone who wanted her scared. She showed the note to Hiroshi, who urged her to stay vigilant. That night, as she walked home, she sensed she was being followed. Shadows moved in the alleys, and footsteps echoed. Behind her, Mia gripped the pepper spray Hiroshi had given her, her senses on high alert. The retaliation came at the school's Halloween dance. Mia hadn't planned to attend, but her friend Sarah, a quiet girl from her art class, convinced her to go.
Oh.
Dressed as a ninja ironic, given her training, Mia felt a flicker of confidence.
Oh.
The gym was packed, the lights dim, the music pulsing. For a moment, Mia let herself relax, swaying to the beat with Sarah. Then the lights went out. Screams filled the air, followed by laughter as the DJ announced a prank. But Mia's instincts screamed danger. When the lights flickered back on, Jake stood before her, his face painted like a skull, his eyes glittering. "With malice, you think you're tough, mouse?" he sneered. Tyler and Becca flanked him, along with 2 other boys Mia didn't recognize. They closed in, cutting her off from the crowd. Jake grabbed her arm, his grip bruising. "You're gonna pay for humiliating me." Mia's heart raced, but she didn't freeze. She twisted free, dropping into a fighting stance. The crowd noticed, forming a circle, phones out, filming. Laughed, cracking his knuckles. But Mia saw the fear in his eyes. He wasn't facing the shy girl he'd tormented for years. He was facing a warrior. The fight was brutal. Jake swung first, but Mia ducked, striking his ribs with a precise elbow. Tyler rushed her, but she swept his legs, sending him crashing to the floor. Becca tried to grab her hair, but Mia caught her wrist, twisting until Becca yelped. The 2 unfamiliar boys hesitated, then charged, but Mia was a blur of motion blocks, strikes, takedowns.
Ow?
She fought not just for herself, but for every kid who'd ever been pushed, mocked, or broken by bullies. When it was over, Jake and his crew lay groaning on the floor. The crowd was silent, stunned. But the victory was short-lived. As security dragged Mia away, she saw a figure in the shadows, watching. It was a man, older, his face obscured by a hoodie. Mia's blood ran cold. Was he the one who'd sent the note? The one following her? Before she could react, he slipped into the crowd, gone. The aftermath was messy. Jake's parents, influential in Willow Creek, threatened to sue the school. Mia was expelled, a decision that sparked outrage among students who'd filmed the fight. Videos of Mia's takedown went viral, dubbed the mouse that roared. A petition to reinstate her gained thousands of signatures in local news outlets. Picked up the story. Mia became a reluctant hero, a symbol of standing up to bullies. But fame came with a price. Reporters camped outside her house, and strangers messaged her online, some praising her, others threatening her. Hiroshi helped Mia navigate the chaos, teaching her to stay grounded. He revealed his own past, how he'd once been a bullied kid, how martial arts had saved him. He urged Mia to use her story to inspire others. Together, they started a free self-defense class at the dojo, open to anyone who'd ever felt powerless. Kids from Willow Creek and beyond showed up, sharing their own stories of bullying. Mia, once silent, found her voice, teaching them not just to fight, but to believe in themselves. The final twist came a month later, when Mia received another envelope. This one contained a USB drive and a note, "You're not alone." On the drive was footage from the school's security cameras, showing the man in the hoodie planting the threatening note in her locker. Mia recognized him instantly. Jake's older brother Ethan, a college dropout with a grudge against anyone who challenged his family. The footage also showed Ethan meeting with Jake, plotting the Halloween attack. Mia turned the evidence over to the police, who arrested Ethan and reopened the investigation into Jake's actions. With the truth exposed, Mia was reinstated at school. Jake and his crew faced criminal charges, their golden reputations shattered. Mia returned to Willow Creek High not as a ghost, but as a force. Students who'd once ignored her now nodded in respect. Sarah became her closest friend, and together, they started an anti-bullying campaign, turning Mia's pain into purpose. One evening, as Mia sat in her small bedroom, the weight of her journey settled over her. Her father, home for the first time in weeks, knocked on her door, his weathered face etched with guilt. He'd seen the news, the viral videos, the headlines calling his daughter a hero. "Mia," he said, his voice rough, "I should have been here. Didn't know how bad it was." Mia's throat tightened. For years, she'd resented his absence, blaming him for leaving her to face the world alone. But now, seeing the pain in his eyes, she realized he was as broken as she'd been. She stood, hesitant, then hugged him, the first time they'd embraced since her mother's funeral. Tears fell as they talked, really talked, about her mother, her training, her fight. He promised to be home more, to listen, to try. Mia nodded, knowing trust would take time, but feeling a crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. That night she found her mother's old sketchbook, filled with drawings of flowers and stars. On the last page, her mother had written, "Be your own light, Mia." She traced the words, her resolve hardening. She wasn't just fighting bullies, she was fighting for the girl she'd been, the one who thought she'd never be enough. With her father's support, Hiroshi's guidance, and Sarah's friendship, Mia felt a new strength, one that went beyond punches and kicks. It was the strength to forgive, to heal, to hope. Asterisk a few weeks later as Mia taught her self-defense. Class at the dojo, she noticed a familiar figure lingering at the door. It was Becca, her once cruel tormentor, standing alone, her cheerleader poise replaced by a nervous fidget. Mia tensed, expecting trouble, but Becca's eyes were red, her face stripped of its usual arrogance. She asked to speak privately, and against her better judgment, Mia agreed. In the quiet of the dojo's office, Becca broke down, her words tumbling out in a rush. She admitted she'd followed Jake's lead out of fear, desperate to fit in, to feel powerful. She'd hated herself for hurting Mia, for filming that awful moment at the festival, but hadn't known how to stop. The viral videos, the charges against Jake, her own suspension had forced her to face the truth. She'd become the kind of person she despised. Becca apologized, not expecting forgiveness but needing to say it. Mia listened, her heart torn, between anger and pity. She remembered her mother's words about finding beauty in broken places, and saw it now in Becca's trembling hands, her tear-streaked face. Mia didn't forgive her, not yet, but she offered something else a chance, to change. She invited Becca to join the self-defense class, to learn strength that didn't come from hurting others. Becca hesitated, then nodded, a flicker of hope in her eyes. As she left, Mia felt a weight lift, not because she'd erased the past, but because she'd chosen to build a future where even bullies could find redemption. It was a small step, but for Mia, it was proof that her fight wasn't just about survival. It was about creating a world where no one had to hide. Asterisk, as she locked up the dojo that night, the stars bright above Willow Creek, Mia smiled. For the first time in years, she felt whole. Asterisk, hey viewers. Thanks for watching Mia's incredible story. Let us know in the comments which part of the country you're watching from. You're in Ohio like Mia, or somewhere else in the USA? Drop your location below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of courage and comeback.